When was the first time you remember listening to metal music?
Sometime in let's see, like in kindergarten, there was a kid there that was playing, like, got tapes from his brother playing Wasp, Twisted Sister, Kiss. So that was probably my first introduction, and then I stopped with my mom at a gas station close to where I'm from, and I saw the cassette tape of Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and I just loved the cover, how it looked. And I was begging mom, it's like, please, 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 can we buy that? It's like, what is that? It's like, I don't know, but I want it, And then we popped it in the car stereo on the way home, and then Invaders came on, and I think life changed right there and then. I would say.
From just a metal fan to a musician, what made you start making music?
Good question. I mean, I was very much a sports guy. I mean, that's what I was sort of set to do. It felt like that was my focus. I was a hockey player, but I love music. I listened so much to music, and of course metal, but also other genres as well, I would say. But I got my first guitar when I was like 13, 14. Started to take lessons. It was acoustic guitar, and then I finally got an electric one. I think that's where when I started playing it, I loved how it made me feel, like creating my own stuff, melodies. That was something very exciting about that. And then I started playing, crust punk, but I also played metal. We also played reggae and ska. I was all over the place, really. But I just loved, creating melodies and creating songs, basically. And so I think that was the moment, when I got that first guitar, and then becoming a singer. I guess we're coming to that as well, but it was kind of random, but it's another feeling, like, I liked listening to, metal with screamy vocals, and I was always wondering, like, I wonder what that feels like, or, what it's like. Could I do that? And then I tested it, and, that was another door opening for sure.
So yeah, what made you become a vocalist?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened really. I mean, I liked doing some like normal singing, or clean singing as a kid, and then discovering all the extreme metal as well. We were a bunch of friends in this small village I grew up in, and one of the dads had like a full rehearsal room in the basement. So I mean, I tried all kinds of instruments, and we all of us like kind of jumped around, like switched instruments and tried different music styles. So I think that was a cool way of discovering my own voice. We did all kinds of weird, black metal, disco, whatever. It was all over the place. But so I think something happened there. And then when I started high school, I met Peter Witchers, who I started Soilwork with, and I mean, he basically came up to me in the schoolyard, and we've never seen each other before. I looked like I had long black hair back then, with like death metal logos on my jacket and all kinds of stuff. So he just, oh, I can tell you're listening to metal, and it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm thinking about starting a band. Do you want to sing? And I was like, well, I play guitar, but I've always been a bit curious about doing screamy vocals. So that's really how it happened. It's kind of randomly. I didn't really have any plans of like starting a band and take over the world, and I mean, and that was never really the case at the beginning, and with Soilwork either. I mean, there was no huge plans. It was just such a creative time, and we had so much fun creating songs, and if our friends loved it, that was the greatest kick, and that sort of, and yeah, here we are in Helsinki at the ice hall. Yeah, it all happened very randomly. Sometimes I wonder, it's like, wait a minute, what happened here?
And what bands and vocalists were your reference when you start singing?
Well, when it was screamy vocals, I loved Corthon Bathory, but I like Thomas Lindberg at the Gates. I like Mille Petrozza in Creator, like that kind of high pitch. But I also loved Tomarea, and the way you could hear every word he's screaming. Like, he's screaming with such power, but you could still hear what he's singing, every word. So I think that was really inspiring for me as well. And also his rhythms, I loved.
And how long did you take to find the correct technique?
Well, I mentioned before that it was sort of like high pitched stuff, and in the beginning, I had a hard time, maintaining my voice and being up there all the time. And I noticed after a couple of years that I, you know, I need to find like the natural range and start from there. And I felt it was somewhere in the middle, you know, not too low and not too high. So I kind of went back and started practicing a lot, doing screamy vocals in the mid range, and then again develop the highs and lows from there. So I think that I would say that's a tip for people who want to start out doing screamy vocals. Find your range, and then develop from there instead of just so I want to sound like that guy and just start there. So that's sort of what I did, and it sounded okay, but you know, it was better to go back and find my range.
What kind of memories do you have of recording your first songs in the studio? What kind of vocal experience was it?
Well, it was always nerve-wracking, you know, being a vocalist, and I wasn't feeling too confident, you know, and you know, I still there are still times when I doubt myself as a singer, and but being in a studio, it's scary, you know. The first times, I remember first time in a studio Frontman, we were recording Steel Bath Suicide, and how Frontman started calling me the bat. You sound like a bat because it was really high pitched, like. But you know, he was also encouraging, you know. But it was super scary, you know, and especially okay, you know, you're there for you booked the studio for 12 days. Am I, you know, and you record everything else except the vocals, and then it's like okay, now vocals. You have 2 days, go. It's like. You know, am I, you know, my vocal cords, are they going to be able to cope with it? Nobody knows. And it's so, yeah, it's very self-revealing. It's like a human instrument. And if you can't deliver, it's really tough mentally. Yeah.
And what kind of memories do you have when it comes to the first tour you ever did? How was it for your voice?
Our first long tour was together with Nevermore and Annihilator in 2001. That was 5 weeks. So that was the first like real test. We've done like 2 weeks, 10 days before, but this was the real test. I think it was in February. Shitty weather and cold and all over Europe and yeah, as far as I can remember, I was doing okay. It's always been like as long as you don't get sick, you know, it's usually fine. But of course, my technique nowadays is way better than back then. So, but also I think I've added a lot more clean vocals as well. I would say that it's a bit easier to sort of mask screamy vocals if you know, if you have troubles with your voice. As soon as there's like some crazy clean vocals, it's kind of hard to mask that, you know. So I didn't do that much of those back then. So that's something that's obviously come gradually for each and every album. So it's more and more important that I you know, stay well on tour and don't get sick, which is close to impossible. But actually, this tour, I only got like a little bit of a cold, but it didn't affect my vocal cords at all. So I'm super grateful that this whole tour has been fine vocally. So, but it takes time, you know. It's the 10,000 hours and practice a lot and do a lot of touring to build up a strong stamina, I would say, for your vocals.
When Soilwork released a Predator's Portrait in 2001, what was it like to start mixing clean vocals with growls?
It was a very interesting time. It was somehow it was natural for me because I mean everybody in the band they developed so much on their, you know, instruments, and I also wanted to do something more than just doing screamy vocals. Even though I enjoy that, I want to do more. You know, so before that album, it was the only time where I took help from vocal coach. Did some few lessons, some pointers here and there, but then I practiced a lot on my own. And I don't know. At the same time, you know, it was scary. You know, it was exciting times, but so scary. What are people gonna think? But you know, it's something that I really wanted to do. And of course, some people said like, "Oh, sell out," blah blah blah. You know, that was never the case. It was just like very natural for me to try out something new and experiment. And yeah, I mean, I was really proud when we recorded the album, but then of course you were scared, like, oh, I'm gonna do this live. It's like, how is that gonna work out, you know? So, but you know, I did okay in the beginning, I guess, but it definitely took some time, you know, to also be confident and you know not shy away from the microphone as soon as you're gonna do the cleans. It's like, oh, is this working? You know, it's like, so yeah.
Regarding the lyrics, who were the artists that influenced your way of writing?
That is a very good question. I mean, I really liked what Thomas Lindberg was doing, and also, you know, I liked Anders Friden's lyrics as well. I mean, of course, there was a lot of teenage angst back then as well. But for the time being, it was like sort of, you know, melancholic, and we kind of tend to romanticize that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I didn't really read that much literature, or any specific books or something like that, which I probably should have. In general, I'm quite bad at reading books. I'm trying to pick it up, but back then, I mean, I really liked it. And Carcass Hard Work, I really liked Jeff's lyrics as well. I mean, Slayer with Tom Araya as well, but that was also, how can I say, there was a lot of like serial killers and stuff like that, and I had a
True
little bit of that.
crime.
Yeah, true crime. Yeah, I had a little bit of that, like a face going, but it's not really my thing. And then I really loved what Dissection as well. I listened a lot to Dissection and such, mysterious lyrics, and that definitely had an impact as well. So.
You released many albums in your career. Are there any albums you can point to where you see yourself making big steps as a vocalist?
I mean, the two times that I had Devin Townsend produce my vocals, a lot of things happened for sure. The first one was Natural Born Chaos. He came to Gothenburg. We were there, super intense. Recorded vocals 10 hours a day, like full throttle, until I passed out, basically. So that was the ultimate test right there. And then we did it again, 2007, for Sworn to a Great Divide, in which I also feel that I really, I evolved as a singer through that experience. So I would say that those two albums are key albums for me as a singer, and yeah, I mean, then we have the later albums. There's been like different eras. It's even Living Infinite. That was quite a experiment. It's a double album, and very diverse songs and types of singing. So that was also, something that I needed to go through. I think that was crucial for me as a singer. So,
Internal Affairs is the first Night Flight Orchestra album released 2012. What was it like exploring a new type of music?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was a challenge I needed, and it was something that I was really curious about. Like I wanted to do something different. I felt that I explored so much within the metal genre, and I'm also, like I mentioned before, like I listen to all kinds of music, and I really felt like doing something completely different. If I'm gonna do something on the side, I mean, I had Terror 2000, the thrash metal band, but I wanted a bigger challenge, and then I got all these amazing people together, and started the Night Flight Orchestra, and something really special came out of that. And I think I took some really big steps as a singer from that experience as well, and it also took some time to become confident in, can I actually pull this off? And it's like, yeah, it feels good. And then, people start to really dig what we were doing. And yeah, here we are. I think, yeah, this is going to be our 7th album coming out in late January, so it's interesting. Yeah,
You're always recording with other artists on a variety of projects. How do these invitations help you explore something new with your voice?
yeah. I mean, I have to really step outside my comfort zone sometimes. A lot of it is it's more like Soilwork related, but now there's a lot other types of music as well coming in. It can be psychedelic rock from Australia to black metal from Colombia to, some kind of art rock from New York, like really weird stuff. So it's really all over the place, and it's always a challenge for me to make the best out of it. And even though sometimes it's like, oh, what is this? I'm not sure what to do with this, but I somehow find a way, together with the client, of course, and where we discuss things. And I think that really makes me develop as a singer as well. So I can highly recommend it to jam with, if you have the possibility, to jam with other bands from around the world. I mean, it's definitely a win-win situation. It's really cool.
Do you have a warm-up routine before a show?
I do like just the classic 5 minutes vocal warm-up that everybody's doing, or I mean, a lot of people are doing that one, and it usually works fine. On this tour, I have my recording gear here as well, because I'm doing this Christmas show coming up in December together with Mickey D, and so I'm rehearsing some classic heavy metal hits as well, and that has also helped a little bit with the pipes.
Are there any foods or drinks that you would like to avoid before the show that you feel affect your voice in some way?
No, I never really thought about that. I mean, I'm sure there is. Some people say, "Oh, don't no dairy," or but maybe that's actually good for screamy vocals. I don't know. No, I don't really avoid anything. I don't know.
What was the reaction when your parents realized you were singing in a metal band?
I don't think they were super stoked from the beginning because I took some time off from school, and I was so focused on that, and didn't continue to apply for college or university or whatever. But then we went to Japan already in '99 with Soilwork, and I guess they realized like, wow, this might be serious. Like, and they've been very encouraging. They were just a little bit concerned in the beginning, so which is only natural, I guess.
Soilwork and Act of Denial released new music this year, and Night Flight Orchestra is releasing a new album next year. Is there anything new that you tried vocally on those upcoming records?
Act of Denial, I mean, I'm not really a permanent member. It's a very much a project, it's kind of same that I do with other clients. So, it's kind of close to the mid 2000s Soilwork, Act of Denial, I would say. I'm not sure if I'm bringing anything revolutionary, but I always do my best, and there's definitely some good stuff coming up, and there's some projects as well that I can't really talk about yet, but yeah.
What kind of advice can you give to a young metal vocalist who's starting their journey?
Well, like we talked about before, find your range and practice a lot on your own as well to different types of music, I would say, just to build up a strong stamina. I mean, I basically locked myself into the rehearsal room a couple of days a week and had this compilation of songs that I like, different genres, and I was just practicing to that, just to kind of explore my own voice and listen to my voice. Record your own voice, listen to it, and also to find like a good pitch. Another tip is to just sing to bass. Like if there's a way where you can, I guess there are tools today where you can just solo the bass of any recording. I think that's a pretty good way of finding good pitch, I would say.
Thank you very much for the interview,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.